We'd like to welcome everyone this evening to Mapleton City Council meeting on Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. We will begin with an invocation by Councilman Garrett and led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Carlson.
Our kind Father in heaven, we bow before you this evening. We're grateful for the beautiful day that it's been and the moisture that we received. We're grateful for the opportunity to join as a community and to discuss some items tonight that affect Mapleton City. We pray that thou will bless us with thy guidance and thy inspiration, and that we can have open discussion and be cordial. We pray that thou will bless all of those in this community, that they will be blessed with success and health and be guided and directed in their lives. We're grateful for this beautiful community that we live in, and we pray that we can never take it for granted and always plan and think ahead for the future of our community. And we pray for these things now in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll begin with our public forum, and I believe that we've got a group here that would like to come forward and speak toward an item, and if you'd like to, come forward now.
I guess that's going to be me, because somebody stood us up, or they're late.
Uh-oh. If you just start by stating your name as you come to the microphone so we can get it on record, that'd be great.
Sure, it's Jessica Stevenson. So I'm here with these kids today on this side because we wanted to kind of talk about prioritizing an all-wheel skate park in Mapleton. I don't know if you guys heard the buzz. We kind of handed out some flyers at the parade, and we've kind of formed a committee with Casey and AJ Rounds. And we have just been meeting every other week and talking about how we can get this going and how we can talk to you guys and get you guys interested. My kids, I have 3, they're all here with me today, and these are their friends. My 2 oldest skate, my son bikes as well, and then my youngest scooters, so we are an all-wheels family. And I have driven them all over the state to find skate parks to skate. I think the best one that they like is in Lehigh because it has certain things that they want to do there. It has a really deep bowl, and it has a good crowd, a good community. We've skated at Payson, in Springville, in Spanish Fork, at the Vans one up in Salt Lake. We've skated all over Idaho, California, Florida. I visited a lot of skate parks, and I've spent hours just sitting there waiting for my kids and watching and kind of observing. And I kind of want to rebuttal this thought that it's brings in a bad crowd. I feel like that's more of a 90s thing, you know. Today, I feel like people are at home on their screens, kids are at home on their screens, and as a mother, like, we're looking for more outdoor recreation to get them off of their social media, give them more options to be outside and doing things where they can be social and meet new people. And I feel like lately at the skate parks that I've been to, that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing really hard-driven kids that get off their phones and they come outside and they're working hard on their sport. They're athletes. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. That things are moving away from that stigma that a skate park has. And I feel like Mapleton could provide a safe place for kids to come together. We could have community events there. I've been to some community events in Provo and in St. George, and it really has a good turnout. A lot of kids, if they have access to a skate park, they're gonna learn how to do it. My husband built an indoor half pipe inside of our garage because during COVID, all the kids were building these ghetto kind of makeshift ramps in the street, and they just needed something fun to do, and they were skating all over the street, doing jumps, and so then we built a indoor one so that they could do it and not bother the neighbors. And I've seen that all over. I've seen makeshift ramps all over the roads because the kids, they need to get outside and they need somewhere to do it and to practice these kinds of things. I don't know about you, but when I drive by the pickleball courts and I see them full and kids laughing and outside and playing, you kind of get a little smile on your face that they came outside, they're not on their phones. I think our community lately has been really aware of the youth and the problems that they're going through. And I just think that something like this could really help them. My kids have brought kids, neighbors, friends from up on the hill, all over, and taught them how to skate inside our garage on our ramp. And I've seen the whole tennis team come over, and the high school tennis team come over and skate on our ramp and learn it together. It's a hard thing to do. These scooter tricks that the kids do these days, I just want you guys to remember that it's an athletic thing. It's turned into a sport, and we can make our skate park really nice. I think if the nicer and the more things you have to do there, you can add I've seen kids parks next door to it. I've seen grass, trees to make it look and feel more like a family place to gather. Some of the skate parks you see are out by the freeway with just a chain link fence around it. And that kind of feels like trouble to me. So if we make this something where the magnitude is going to bring people in that actually want to learn to skate, people aren't going to drive from far to come and make mischief, I don't think. I think they're going to drive from far to come and actually get better at their sport. And I feel like our community will watch over it, take care of it. Our little group that has been meeting every week has talked about trying to get people to pledge to show you guys that we want it. It's still in the works what we want to do. We talked with Logan about maybe forming like an official committee so that we can help aid in getting all the things that we need. We have a lot of support from, there's outside people that we've talked to. We've talked to Tony Hawk's Foundation about how to get this going, and they gave us they said, if you need us, we'll help. Thread Wallets said that they would help with this. Go Skate Utah is another really good resource. They show us who to use, what would be the best place, and they give all sorts of resources and support to making this like the best that it could be. I think Logan was going to reach out to someone that did, a contractor that did Provo Skate Park. They're doing a new huge one in St. George, so they know a lot about what makes the skate park feel more like a family gathering place, so it doesn't look like somewhere out by the freeway where there's mischief. So hopefully I've covered everything.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Has your committee discussed yet on a location in our city that you thought would be good, number one?
Yes, so this is just like my opinion and others'
That's all I'm
opinions
interested in is,
that has talked about, because I have seen a lot of skate parks. I feel like somewhere more central to town is better. And I know a couple of properties that we already own. One is just right here next to you, and it's definitely big enough. And I feel like you've got, less neighbors to be upset about it, possibly. And I just think it'd be great if the kids could actually get there on their own. I talked to a lot of kids at the Lehigh Skate Park that are like, we have to ride here. It takes me 30 minutes to ride my bike over here. And they do. They ride on this scary highway to get to the skate park. And I feel like that one's a little bit more in a...
on 2100 North?
Yeah. And it's not huge, but it has a vertical bowl that's pretty deep, and that's what my son skates. He does vertical. My daughter, she does street skating, and it kind of has both and has all the things for both.
So let me ask you a question, based on your experience. Do you feel like our community's small enough that it would be okay if it was toward one side or the other? We're a little narrower this way, but north and south, if it had to be placed on one end or the other, would it still?
Well, just looking at the properties that you guys own, I know you got a new big property clear up kind of by, I call it the gravel pits.
We know what you're talking about.
I mean, eventually that will fill in, but I feel like the residents that are gonna put forth these pledges and maybe help donate to make this happen are the people that are already here. So I'm kind of looking at where we are. I mean, it sounds like you have another property that is north a little bit, but it's surrounded by neighbors. I feel like it will be a harder sell for the neighbors. And then you have another property on Slant Road. I feel like that's more on the edge of town, more servicing Spanish Fork possibly. I don't know, so in my opinion, I feel like it could be really great right here where the kids can get to it and the police department can keep an eye on it. There's just a lot of things going on right here and access, I guess. I mean, I haven't really, I've lived here for a long time, but I guess I didn't really look what is really the center, but I figured maybe the park was.
Yeah, it's
And the city
close.
building was, so.
I don't feel like there's been any real opposition to that from a council. I think it's primarily, that's one of the questions. The other one is, what is the cost, right? The cost can be
Yeah, I
significant,
think,
and so without those costs or the location, so I don't think that there's been real opposition to it, have you?
so the reason also why we were thinking about this property right here was because, just timeline too, like the people, once again, that want to help and donate have young kids now, and we don't want it to be in 5 years. Like, we're putting a lot of effort in now. My youngest is 10. My older two are teenagers. When we started putting this out there, we've had people come. There was a lady that said, oh, my son that's on a mission, he came to the city 5 years ago and tried to get the skate park going. And I don't want to be that person that's like, yeah, 5 years ago we tried. So the sooner the better, and I feel like the property further up here, it might be a long time till it's developed to go up there. And also, I think you guys had a plan to maybe do a bike park up there. And I feel like coupling those together might be really expensive and make it even a bigger project and then push it out further. Once again, this is kind of what some of us has talked about in these meetings. So yeah, I feel like the property here would be a good option, and you already have some of the parking lot. I don't know how much parking you're gonna need. I think Lehigh spent about $500,000 on theirs, and they might have had the property donated by the church that was next door, possibly. So if you don't have the cost of the property, that saves a lot. And it depends on what magnitude you want to do it. Once again, I feel like if you make it an all-wheels park, which means that you have certain things in the park that make it accessible to BMX bikers, to people that scooter, people that street skate, people that vert skate, I feel like it will be a better asset to the city. I mean, we can drive down to Springville if we want to skate. We can drive to Spanish Fork, but those just don't have the things that we need for our athletes to learn and grow. I always drive to Lehigh.
You're working with the right people, and the more information you can gather, the faster it's going to help us get through the process at the
Yeah.
point when we do have a place we can do it, and we have the funding and all those things in
Yeah.
place.
Logan is a really great resource. I think he helped Orem with their skate park, kind of learned some things. He was going to talk more to the contractor that we were thinking of using about the cost.
That's great.
We were hoping that we could reach out to people in the community that do cement and things like that, Eccles Paving, WPI, and ask if they could donate or make it cheaper for us for the materials.
That's great.
Anyways, we've talked about all these things to make it cost efficient and to expedite it, I guess.
That's
So,
excellent.
Every little bit helps on that.
We're going through a facilities master plan for our Parks and Rec right now, and that's something that'll be considered on there. I expect us to have it done maybe January,
End of
February,
November, December, hopefully.
first of the year.
Yeah, I think
So-
we heard about that, so.
Yes, and also, I myself have had multiple conversations with the school district about pieces of property for things like this, so we're working those angles, but
Cool.
the more information you guys can gather as a committee from cost and all that thing, and design and all those is just gonna help go a little faster.
Logan was actually going to talk to the builder that built the skate parks in Lehigh, St. George, I think there's 2 other cities.
Provo, yeah.
Currently working with Washington, didn't say something. Oh, sorry. He was going to reach out to them, he had their contact, and find out a good price, like the estimated cost for building it. When AJ and I both talked to Tony Hawk's Foundation, it was hard to get an appointment with them. They're a big organization, done this all over the country. They said that if the city has land that they're willing to donate, that's a major head start. Most cities don't have that. So when raising the capital, it takes a long time. And he said that it's an affluent, city where businesses have construction resources, that's going to help even more. And I feel like Mapleton's perfect location.
What role does in what way does the foundation contribute? Is it matching funds, or how does that work?
They have a plan from A to Z how to do it. They've gone through every single step to getting a skate park or all-wheels park built in the city. And so they have the designs, they have the resources, just the steps that are needed to take place. And you can't just go contract with anyone that does cement, because the surface of the cement's important, the transitions.
So it's not so much that they match funds or it's a dollar contribution as it is just resources and a library of.
They do funding for skate parks, but it's normally for areas that are underfunded, I guess.
Underserved.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
underserved
The
areas.
grants we could apply for them, but they're not going to reach
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
So that would go to the
And
underserved
then
communities.
Logan also said that since we've been meeting, about we've been meeting 2 to 3 times a month, trying to put this together. And Logan said that he feels like it's a great time right now to make an official council that we can meet and actually move forward. And the idea is to get it up higher on the list when you guys finalize the list in November. And that's why we're pushing this now, so that it's not at the
master
bottom,
plan.
and it's actually, we want it to be one of the priorities so that we can budget for it and make
Yeah,
it
I know you guys
possible.
have a lot of things that you need to spend money on.
Yeah,
We
there's
were
a-
just
there's a
trying
big cookie jar,
to
everyone wants a piece of it.
move that to the top of your mind, and the reasons
Great.
why we feel it's important, so.
That's great. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name's
Oh, yeah.
Matt Stevenson.
In that, if you can do it in the microphone, Camille gets mad at us because she can't ever hear it. That way she'll
Yes.
type it up later.
Matt Stevenson.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
I think AJ had some stuff he wanted to say.
Perfect. Thanks,
Well-
Stevenson. Appreciate your info.
And I'll just comment, I think the takeaway, a lot of the takeaway is you really don't have resistance
Yeah.
in terms of the philosophy of having an all-wheels park. We've talked about it long enough that I think we're all on the same page. You don't have to make the argument for the why. We get it. What it is it's about the resources.
Yeah.
We are a small town, small budget. We're funded by property taxes that we're not about to, there's nothing, that's it. So what you are doing and taking the initiative to get pledges, sponsorships, cost reduction, whatever, that's exactly what we could use. So the case you make and what AJ passed out is great for informing others, but in terms of convincing the council or the mayor, I'll speak for myself, but I've had enough conversations that
Yeah.
it's a non-issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is anywhere you go nowadays, you go in the grocery store, you go on a flight, you go to Disneyland, anywhere you're going, kids have screens in their face, and it blows my mind. 2 weekends ago, Provo held a skateboard all-wheels competition, and so the city had a booth in front of their skate facility, and then you had all these kids ranging from 5 to teenagers or older that had their number on their back, on their shirt, and they were all smiling and competing with one another. And it was just, people had their blankets out on the grass. And had you guys been there, you would have actually seen the takeaway that you get from something like this and an experience.
They were humans, not
And-
robots.
Yes, and that's one thing that Tony Hawk's Foundation mentioned is this is actually, they have real statistics that show that this is going to be one thing that can help prevent suicide and different things in a community, which I think is great as well.
Excellent.
So, AJ.
And sorry to be late. I thought it was at 6:30 for some reason, but here we are, right? So there's no resistance from the council and the mayor, and it sounds like a good thing. And we're trying to set ourselves apart as the city of great amenities, right? And great parks and great facilities. So this is kind of in line with that and helps with that vision. Funds are limited, obviously, we know that. What would the city want to see or need to see to say, okay, now this is priority number, not 1, but maybe 7 or 8, something like that? how do
You
we?
got a check for about $500,000?
No.
Well, that's,
I'm kidding, right? But
that's the cost of the park, right? But
Yeah.
would it be half, or would it be a third, or would it be?
No, I
50,000?
don't think, based on, we had some meetings this morning, and my mind's just been going. Like I said, I spoke to the school district, to the superintendent myself, about different pieces of property and that they have in the city to see if it'll work.
Yeah,
What would be super helpful, because they do have property that could be given immediately for a use like this,
yeah,
is that what Ms. Stevenson, Jessica said was, when she was trying to convince us that this, it's more like the 90s was whenever, these skate parks were more of a problem rather than, a hindrance than doing good, is that was some of the feedback that I got from the school district. And what would be awesome is if you could find out the next meeting, the school board's meeting, and go before the school board and explain to them the thoughts that you have are from when you were a kid and not today in 2020 or 2022. So that would be a huge help, because if they do have property, they could donate it and we could do something like this. They've done it in the past, but I know that the board has this thought in the back of their mind that it's not what you're painting the picture of it to be. And so that'd be a huge help. In our facilities master plan, as we work through this and some of the meetings that the three of us had this morning, this could go quick, depending on the location and things like that. I keep going around in my mind where we could get the money from. There are ways we can do that, like Jessica says, obviously the additional funding and that people are willing to help that could reduce the cost would be huge.
sponsors.
We
and
don't want to
things.
just do it, this flyer is awesome, this looks awesome. We don't want to do
Well,
it.
it's all hypothetical,
Yeah, sure.
right?
We don't want to do it
That's
and
an
then
idea.
wish we would have done it a different way either, a year or two later. So to do a facility like this, if it's not where restrooms are, we want to do it right, and you have to have restrooms and power and everything else. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into the infrastructure, obviously. 500,000, you go pour the concrete and get 500,000. The other $1 million comes by getting the infrastructure there, creating the parking lot, putting the bathrooms, things
Yeah.
like that. Unless it was next to another facility, you could leverage that. So there's a lot to be thought through there.
For sure.
It's not something that's insurmountable. It's not something you have to wait forever. But convincing the school board that this is a good thing would go miles and miles.
October 5th at 6 PM at 350 South Main in Spanish Fork.
And once you do
Okay.
that, come back and,
Good.
or at least let me know, AJ, that
Yeah.
you've done that so that I can reach back out to the school board.
Okay, we'll do it.
And I think the concept, and to Jessica's point, creating a destination type of facility where you've
Yeah.
got parks around it or different things, so it is more family-friendly for different age groups, different things to do. I think it's great. The concept is
Yeah.
very appealing.
And I think there's organizations too, they're willing to kind of help, maybe not even sponsor it, but kind of help be part of it, partner with it. For example, Thread, Walt, they are launching the Carry On Foundation tomorrow night, actually, and raising $400,000 for their indoor skate park tomorrow night. Several of us are invited, and Colby and Mackenzie Bauer are like, yeah, we want to be part of Mapleton as well, maybe have a little portion for Carry On. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can partner with other people in the community and make this not oh no, it's the Mapleton All-Will Skate Park in the dark with all the, skater guys and gals there. It's going to be something cool in the limelight by the city hall, hopefully, right? Or somewhere that's, that's very visible and safe and pulling kids off their screens. And as you can see, it's not the parents here that are initiating this, it's the kids. Stand up, you guys.
Well, take those.
Make
I was gonna
yourself
say-
known. There you
I was gonna
go.
say, take all these kids and all the rest in your committee to the school board and make sure the school board sees them. Because if the district's gonna give us property to do it, they're gonna do it because it's gonna benefit the kids
That's
going to
right.
school, right? And based on the hat you're wearing, you've got some experience of raising funds.
A
and
little
so
bit.
Let's go get the funds, some more funds raised, and get these kids in front of the school board. It'd be huge.
Cool.
And have some of the kids have some prepared remarks.
Yep.
Okay.
Have them speak, because we had 2 or 3 come 6 months ago,
Yeah.
5 months ago. Who came, AJ, 3 months
It
ago?
was,
Ashton?
Ashton and
Ashton and
Sawyer and
Sawyer, they
and
did a
Eli
great
or
job.
something.
And
Yeah.
have those boys give the presentation and then bring all the information you have about what it actually is. You
Cool.
got to get rid of that image in their minds
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the school board.
Cool. No, we love it. I think the other thing too is the ask was, let's make it a priority for the city, and we know kind of where to go with that, right? The other thing is this something we should have officially sanctioned by the city as far as a committee goes? Or should we just keep kind of working under the radar?
I think
What would
working
be
as
best?
you are right now, continue full throttle,
Okay,
right? I don't know that it.
Yeah, it's not gonna make a difference, I don't
Doesn't
think.
matter
When you
either
just
way.
keep working with Logan and push that committee
okay,
and do these things, come back to us, report to us after the school board, the school district, and then we'll work internally on some ideas that we have based on some stuff we had this morning,
cool,
and then we'll get with the school district and keep pushing along.
okay. Thanks you guys for your time. Appreciate what you do.
I appreciate your work, it's very
Thank
helpful.
you. It's great. This is, by the way, this is how you get something done. So, good job. Good job.
Mayor and council, just two things. Councilmember Beck, I just want to make sure he was still online.
Casey, can you say something to us?
No, I don't have anything to add, just props to everyone and all the support that they've given, and I agree with what you said, that this is how things get done.
Great. Yes, he's there.
Okay, and just for the record, Councilman Garrett had to step out too, so.
Okay. All right, thank you. Was there anyone else that wanted to sign up for public forum? Since we didn't have the sheet out. All right, we'll move forward with our consent agenda items. 1, 2, and 3, we had an amendment, the addition of the consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Utah Department of Workforce Services. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? If not, we'll look for a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
A motion by Councilmember Egbert and a second by Councilmember Jones.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Jones, yes.
Great. We'll move forward with our first public hearing item, which is number 4, consideration of resolution adding a definition of vicious animal.
Dennis, hold on. Fourths are here. I want to make sure that they understand that was their item. Richard Fourth is here. He was in that consent agenda.
Yeah, actually, I'll make that clear. Richard, your item was number 2 of the consent agenda, and it's approved, so. You're good? You were on the consent, yes. So if you, hey, you're welcome to stay. We'd love you to stay. It's great to see you here.
Oh, it's just about to get good.
Hey, hey, Richard, I have a question. Is the business over there one of the oldest businesses in the city or not?
Yours?
Has it been there one of the longest or not?
1947, I don't know that there's anything still around that's running
That's pretty cool. Good job.
and we've helped with some skate parks before, bending the rails.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that sounds great.
Never mind if we need to bend some pipe for them.
oh, that's great.
You think we can twist Casey's arm and have him do that for us? You got some power there. Okay. All right. Thanks, Richard. See y'all later. Good night. All right, we'll move forward with item number 4, consideration of a resolution adding a definition of vicious animal to Mapleton City Code 6.08.160. Chief.
All right, Mayor, thanks. Mayor, members of the council. Not a lot to add to the staff report, but other than to just give you a little bit of history of why this came up. We had an incident back in the spring where some dogs got loose from a resident's house and went up on the trail and attacked some other dogs. So obviously the officers responded and sent that to our prosecutor's office. The prosecutor reached out to me about a month ago and says, your code looks great, but we don't have a definition of what a vicious animal is. This definition that's on here came from both Spanish Fork and Springville. They have the same one, so we just plagiarized it, and it's the same one as them. So unless you have any questions.
We've also had incidents on the trail where people have been attacked.
That's true.
So it's good to get this in place. This is the public hearing item, so we'll open it for public comment. If you have a comment, come forward. Seeing there are none, we'll close the public hearing.
Where did this definition come from? I mean, is this a safe definition that we have here?
Well, we're adding the definition. We don't have a definition.
But the definition we're adding,
Yeah, that came from Spanish Fork and Springville. And I probably should have mentioned this. The Springville prosecutor is the one prosecuting our ordinances, and so he's approved this definition.
I make a motion to approve the language defining a vicious animal in the city code.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jones, a second by Councilman Carlson.
Egbert, yes.
Jones, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Great, thanks, Chief.
Can we make the word feeding after number 4, make that lowercase just for consistency?
I guess.
Before it's entered into code.
English teachers?
Yeah. You got to proofread it after we cut and paste.
Yeah, but it's bankable.
All right, we'll move to item number 5, consideration of an ordinance amending Mapleton City Code Section 17.12.050G, eliminating the maximum length requirement of 500 feet for cul-de-sacs. Mr. Conroy.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So the city's ordinance, subdivision ordinance outlines standards for cul-de-sacs. One of those standards is that there's a maximum length of 500 feet. We've had some, from time to time, people request cul-de-sacs larger than that. We've had a few instances. One we've reviewed pretty recently with the Vineyard subdivision that you recall, for lengths longer than that. So we started to kind of look around at what other cities are doing and try to determine why we had a requirement of 500 feet, where that number came from. And what we found is that there isn't really a consistent standard. And cities have ranging from no cul-de-sacs to 200 feet to 1,300 feet, right? There's this pretty wide range of requirements. But what we did see in the ordinances that did have a reason for the length requirement is it consistently was tied to fire safety. And so we met with Nick, with the fire chief, and with the county fire marshal to go over this. And their position was that the length requirement is not a fire code issue. Their only concern is width and the ability to turn around. They weren't concerned with the length requirement. And so we started discussing it as staff, saying, well, is there some length that we should still consider? And everything we discussed seemed somewhat arbitrary. And so that's the reason why we're recommending just to remove that requirement. There are a couple of other things that will still weigh in on cul-de-sac lengths. One is you can't have more than 30 lots on a dead-end street. And then the second is that we require all subdivisions to be entered into our water model. And the longer you have a dead-end pipe, the more concerns you could get with water quality and pressure. And so there's some internal things that we'll continue to monitor, that we'll look at, that will affect cul-de-sac lengths. But that's what we're bringing before you tonight. We included this is the Vineyard subdivision that we approved not too long ago. There's going to be other situations like this, most likely in the city, where a road was intended to go through when it was originally started, but for multiple reasons no longer will be feasible. And so a cul-de-sac may be the only answer. And rather than granting an exception, our position is that we would prefer just to not have that requirement. So Vineyard, this one's about 850 feet. Eagle Rock's a little over, it's about 550. Nemelka Lane is not completed yet, but when it does, it'll be about 800. This was a similar situation to Vineyard, where the road was intended to go through, and then later was determined that was no longer needed, and so this one will be about 850 as well. Hillcrest, this one's about 1,000 feet. It was your fault, Dallas, on that last one. And then this one's in Twin Hollow. So just examples where we've looked at with fire, and we feel like they still function and aren't causing issues. So we're just open to see what the council's thoughts are on this, and we'll move forward from there.
This is a public hearing item. We'll turn it over for public comment now. Seeing there are none, we'll close the public hearing and back to the council. One thing I was thinking about earlier, Sean, and I failed to mention this to you, was if you're building a road and the max amount of lots is 30 homes per lot, or per dead-end road, not very often, if ever, you're going to build a full-width road and have 30 down one side. Eventually, you're probably going to develop the other side. I think about the road next to the west of the cemetery, Blue subdivision, I think it's called. If the road goes down, let's say that we're developing a road along the side of one property, and it's long enough that you could put 30 homes down one side, and eventually put a cul-de-sac. Would we determine then that it's possible, there's 15 lots across the street, so we would, you know, maximize the length based on 15 lots down one side? The reason I ask that is because of this. If you had 15 1-acre lots, and the minimum after TDRs is 100 foot of frontage, let's say 110, 115 feet, and you put 15 down one side, you're, you know, 1,600 and something feet is your maximum. Well, that's just barely a quarter mile or barely over a quarter mile. So if you said, worst case scenario, we'd end up with a cul-de-sac that was 15 to 1,600 feet long. And if they're third-acre lots or quarter-acre lots, obviously it's 1,000 to 1,200 feet long, right? Maximum. It doesn't sound like that bad anyway.
Yeah, I think, you know, the initial review when we get a subdivision is not to have the cul-de-sac, right? That's the first step, is to look at it and say, okay, is there reasons why this should connect? Do we have circulation issues? Do we have roads planned on our master plan? So that's step number one.
Sure.
Step number two then is to look at the surrounding properties. Is there a need to stub for additional, you know, so
Development.
that's the kind of the process that we would.
I'm just saying worst case scenario, in that it's a case of a vineyard or something like that, we wouldn't end up with a mile-long cul-de-sac. That's what I'm saying.
But having a preference that a new subdivision doesn't connect to a neighboring subdivision simply because of preference would not likely be a reason to just grant a cul-de-sac. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there's adjacent property that makes sense to stub to for circulation reasons, or they don't have development ability to get access, yes, that's the default.
I assume some of these might be, you know, people don't know, they see it winding off, they don't know. Should we have something in there, certain parameters that they put up, this is a dead-end road? Because we don't do it on cul-de-sacs, but I don't know if should that be.
Yeah, the longer you get, the longer it is before somebody can realize it and turn around if you don't have the signage.
Yeah, we do put them on cul-de-sacs, we just don't always put them on cul-de-sacs. Yeah. Yeah. We're supposed to.
Yeah.
The developers are supposed to. That's in the development agreement, yeah.
I didn't know.
Same way as they're required to put in yield signs, stop signs, anything like that. Whenever that dead end exists, then they're supposed to put those in. I just can't say that we always catch it.
Well, since we talk about this one all the time, I'm thrilled to see this come forward and based upon best practices, and we're not using the safety connection anymore because it's arbitrary. So I'm thrilled to streamline how we legislate this, and I agree with everything you've shared about other standards will pick up challenges related to flow and safety anyway. So I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance amending Code Section 1712.050.g as written.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Egbert and a second by Councilmember Jones.
Can we open the public hearing?
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Great. Our last item is a discussion item. Number 6, a discussion providing an update on the Mapleton Spanish Fork wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Lord.
All right. Is this going to let me go forward? Should work, okay. Okay, so what you're going to see is a slide presentation that's, as I understand it, the same as Spanish Fork City Council got last night. So a couple of weeks ago, we met with Alder Construction. They're they've been the general contractor, contract manager, general contractor for this project to get their final price, final cost for the construction of the wastewater treatment plant. So we'll go through a couple of things. We'll look at an overview schedule that GMP is guaranteed maximum price. So we'll look at that. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that have already happened and then where we're going. But I'm going to try to fly through this too. So these are just some renderings. This is what the plant's going to look like. More renderings. That's really an exciting one. There we go. Headworks. You want to look at these later, you're welcome to them, but there you go. That's all the fluff out of the way. Okay, so project schedule. The early out packages, these are pieces that had to go out before we got the final price. That's the whole point of kind of the construction, the design build process. Solids handling, this was something on the old plant that needed to be updated before we could do anything, so that's almost done. Off-site piping was another thing we needed to get done before we could even consider the new plant. That's almost done. And then the ground improvements, this is really a lot of geotechnical work that's difficult, and they're in the process of that right now. That continues to grow. The more we look at the soil conditions out there, the more complicated it gets. So they're hoping to have all that figured out by February 23. For the treatment plant construction, May 2025, it should be operational, and then final completion, everything buttoned up by August 2025, which is right on schedule for what we were anticipating in the beginning. That's not going to help anybody. This is Alder's spreadsheet with all of their cost breakdown just for the treatment plant construction itself, so none of those early out packages that we just talked about is included in this. And then this kind of breaks them down a little bit, looking at how much we expected from the engineer's estimate with this particular site versus Alder's guaranteed maximum price. Again, if you want these, you can have them. I'm not going to go through them. These are pre-procured equipment, so this is stuff that we had to buy ahead of time, made the decision early to purchase these from vendors directly rather than having the contractor buy them and mark them up. Part of the reason for having this go to council last night at Spanish Fork and then tonight with us is that a lot of these bids from these contractors were 30-day bids, and those will expire next week. So getting this stuff under contract quickly is important, so those bids don't move. Then this is it. This is essentially the cost. So $99 million is the cost from Alder for the actual construction of the plant. And then you add to that the early out packages, engineering and design and everything together, and we are at 131.7 million total. So our cost 26.3. So if you remember when we started this, however long ago it was, 90 million was the number we were hoping for. We have a note with Spanish Fork at 18 million. So based on that, we're $8.3 million short. The 24.7 there is the cost without contingencies. So it might come in lower than 26.3. The 26.3 for us is that guaranteed maximum. So hopefully the contingencies are not as bad, but we're not going to plan for those not being there. And that's it. There you go.
Questions?
I don't have any.
So it's an increase
Thank
of
goodness.
$8 million. Based on our estimate.
Is that me?
Nobody move.
Everybody put your feet flatly on the floor.
Didn't we just pay $30,000 for a new light?
Have you run on that $8 million, what is that estimated increase from our already scheduled increase in our utility bill?
That we don't know yet. No, this is so new, and the $8 million increase, we don't have a plan yet as to how we're going to come up with that. So Bryce and I and Corey and Sean are going to sit down, look at options, and then see what's the most economical way to do that. I will tell you that Spanish Fork is not anticipating going after any additional funding in a way of a bond until 2024. They're not even going to look at that until then. So the bond that we already have and the note that we already have is enough to get us to that point.
Is enough to get us there?
It's enough to get us to 2024.
Oh, okay.
Because of as we build, we pay
I see.
you know.
What was the original bond? Wasn't it like 85, 90, something like that?
90, we're expecting 90, we were going to pay 16.
We're at
with our
18.
two.
Ours was
With our other
18.
2 million, it's 18.
Yeah.
So if you say we're at 18, we were at 18, we're going up $6 million from the 18.
We're going up
7?
8.3.
Why?
18 to 26.3 is 8.3.
Oh, sorry, 26.3 on the GMP, that's right.
Don't do public math.
So
That's bad.
on the 8.3, so if we were, I think our number was like $60-something, 65 or 68 was the ending
Yeah.
sewer connection price, your monthly fee. And we're going up another 8 million, and we went from 30 to 68, $38 to cover the 16. I bet we're probably another 15 to 20 bucks.
We'll end
Just
up
quick math,
around, yeah.
right? So we may end up in 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we'll make sure Bryce reviews the spreadsheet for
What was
Steven.
what was our
presents it.
forecasted long-term on that? I can't remember, because it was forecasted to go up that high for so many years, right?
I don't remember.
It was,
It wasn't supposed to stay there permanently.
right, we built it up, I think it was in the first 8 years, and then at 8 years, we kind of hit a sweet spot, and then we can hold it at that point, and then potentially start to dive it, to bring it back down again. But at that point, when we get out 10 and 12 and 13 years, it's
Yeah, there's no
yeah.
real clear projection.
pretty difficult.
What I'm trying to wrap my head around is explaining this to a citizen, saying, okay, this is what we projected, this is what it is now, this is how it's gonna affect your bill, but it's not permanent, long-term. This is just to get the bond paid off.
Yeah, I wouldn't explain it to him until you got the numbers, but,
Right, but that's basically the concept, right?
yeah. Which our sewer price right now, has anybody looked at their bill recently? What is it? Is we in the low 40s? I can't remember. Has anybody seen it?
We hit 40, I can't remember.
It's 42 or something?
It's 46 right now, I think, right?
Is that right?
46, so back when we started it 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, we thought it'd go into the mid-60s, now we might be mid-80s or something, I would assume, so that's the explanation. But when we get the numbers. Any other
Bryce-
questions?
Bryce sat down with the finance director of Spanish Fork yesterday for a couple hours, so they're starting that process to make sure both cities are kind of working hand in hand of the timing of getting this information out, so.
All right,
When do you think we'll be reviewing what the sewer bill will be in the next fiscal year?
what was the question, Reed?
When do you think we'll be reviewing to raise the sewer rate for the next fiscal year? know,
It's
we-
on the, when does it raise again? Is that what you're asking?
That August timeframe, so.
So it's August timeframe.
It's July 1, I think, isn't it? Isn't
Just-
that what we decided?
yeah.
We just, with the new fiscal year, we roll it.
Yep, we
So
roll it to
August,
that
the
next
first,
Yeah, we
Change would be
kind of have
August
an
first.
idea for what it'd be in July 2023, but we probably ought to adjust it.
What we planned on doing was, given the briefing tonight, and then Stephen and Bryce go look at that spreadsheet, bring it before the council, and the council agree with the current plan, what we've already agreed with, and then add this piece on, and then we
That's what I
convene
mean.
and say, here's when we should bolt on the additional piece, and therefore, so forth.
But probably we won't make any changes until July.
Right.
You mentioned there was contingency
Yeah.
with the GMP?
well, the GMP includes the contingency, yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not
I
GMP
wanted
plus
to get that
contingency.
straight,
It's
'cause
the
I
other
thought
way.
it had- So it's already, it is built in?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it better be.
Yep. The other thing that Spanish Fork's negotiating right now is the engineering, the construction engineering, so the construction management piece, and how much they want to do in-house versus contract out. That's a big chunk, that's a $7 million piece. So if they feel like they can handle some of it in-house, and if they want to do that, then that'll come off the price.
Any other questions? Thanks, Stephen. All right, let's move to administrative reports. Chief?
All right, I got a couple for you. First off, last Friday morning at 2 in the morning, we had a house catch on fire down on 2400 South 89. Call came in at, I think, 2:09. We had guys there within 4 minutes. That's unbelievable. And to make it even better, I mean, if Chief was here, I don't want to give him too much credit, but hey, he's built something here, right? So they went into the garage as the flames were starting to go up into the rafters. So another couple minutes, I think, it's a whole different ball game. So seeing those guys down there that quick, that pays off. And then seeing our part-time help and our volunteers that came out at 2 in the morning and all working together down there as one team, cool. That was cool to see. So props to those guys. That was, on that, I'm assuming you guys want to be notified of incidents like that with the email. You like those?
Yeah, that's great.
So anyway, great job. That was awesome. So probably contributed, the lightning storm looks like contributed to that a little bit. So great family, great people. So good outcome down there. So proud of those guys.
How's the family doing?
Good.
Good.
They're solid. They've got great support in their ward down there. So just solid, good people. So second thing, some of you signed up for the training tomorrow at Provo PD, the mobile field force that is crowd control. I just want to give you a little heads up of what we're going to be getting, and then we'll get over there and dive into it a little bit more. But the main goal for tomorrow is for cities to be thinking about what their plan's going to be if they have to bring this team in. So this team is going to be officers from around the county, multi-jurisdictional. And the commanders of this team are going to come to us if we have something and say, where's that threshold? When the lines, where's the line that they cross that you want us to take some action? So you're going to be hearing some presentations tomorrow from some things that happened up in Salt Lake when they went through it, and then some tabletop exercises. So it should be fun. It's supposed to be done at noon. I think you guys got the email that has the directions.
Everybody that signed up get an email showing where to park.
If not, I have the printout of that. So we'll be there. Phil, Tony, Mike, and I will be there, and we'll meet you all over there. Maybe we borrow the fun bus and just all take off together, but.
It's at the office, you can go get it if you want.
We're good. So anyway, thank you. Oh, I have a closed session personnel item, so if we can note that when we close.
Yep. Great, thanks, Chief. Mr. Lord.
Yeah, just one. I was at a Public Works Association conference today. We had an update from the City Engineers Association. There is ongoing conversation between the City Engineers Association and the Home Builders Association. And right now where things are, those talks need to go better. If they don't go better, then our ability to review construction plans and to regulate standards and specifications are going to be severely impacted and impaired. So the good news is they're still talking.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, they want to legislate our standards and specifications at the state level so that we can't choose road widths, we can't choose pavement thicknesses. We can't dictate which type of water line pipe we use, things like that.
I think that's only the start of land use legislation coming our way.
Yeah, so the Land Use Task Force is working on it. They've come from being 1 million miles away to being 500,000 miles away, so it's moving in the right direction. But just be aware of that. If you hear any rumblings about that or have any influence, that'd be helpful. We don't want complete autonomy. We want to be reasonable, but we need to have some control on the local level, for sure.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Lord. Reed.
I don't know, have anything. Next week I have a solid waste meeting, so I'll have an update for how things are going. But so far, as far as I know, things seem to be proceeding well down at the solid waste treatment plant.
Excellent. Jessica.
And Stephen, if you'll shoot now if there's legislation drafted on that, so I can, there's not yet, it's just forthcoming. Okay, I haven't heard it as specific. Okay. Utah League of Cities and Towns had a board meeting this week where we did prioritize a lot of related kind of stuff and what the positions for cities are, especially with the CHA, the Commission on Housing Affordability. So we have a meeting coming up with Representative White, Mayor Corey invited to.
I tied Sean into that as well.
Yeah, you're welcome to do it. So we'll have 2 meetings. One's on the 30th at 9:30. That's via Zoom, and it's with Cameron Deal from the League, Representative White, and representatives from a variety of cities in our area to make sure who's on the CHA understands the city's position on establishing how we're meeting housing requirements, because there is a lot of control going on with developers and being prescriptive to cities about a lot of things. And so I'd love to kind of touch in and see there, so I can watch for that. So, and then there will be a follow-up meeting with him. So Tom McDonald's coming. He's on the CHA representing, so he's Orem City Council, but he sits on there appointed, so he'll be at that meeting also. So Lots of, like Leslie said, lots of stuff on land use and control coming up this legislative session. You know, I'll have lots more on that. There's tons. But Corey, I don't know if we had any more conversation about the council meeting that's during the league.
Yeah, so they bring that up. So we've met with the department heads. We're gonna cancel our October 5th city council meeting unless something comes up of emergency. But as of right now, no meeting that first, on October 5th.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. And then I think that's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Jessica. I have a question for the council about the biweekly update that Corey's been putting together with the department heads. Is that good? Is it helpful? Is it enough? Is it too much?
Fabulous.
It's good. I'd actually like more, some of the stuff that we might be missing on up and coming, like if we're talking about the skate park or what's going on with parks, is there any little
Like a
nuggets like that?
miscellaneous-
Yeah, yeah.
Like a
'cause I think I'm
miscellaneous
out of-
up and coming. What
Coming down
about
the
like
pipeline.
stuff like the meetings that were like, would you consider the same thing like maybe developer meetings or requests, things like that, or you don't care about that?
I
type
would
of
like
question?
anything and
Yeah.
everything,
But I think at
frankly.
some point, I mean, there is a point, there's a lot of early preliminary, just.
Yeah,
kinda
some stuff
casual
may never
conversations.
even
We don't
come
need to know
to
about that.
fruition, but-
I just.
Yeah, I don't need day-to-day operations for people's jobs getting done. But
No,
if there's
no.
a hot topic that might be outside of a traditional administrative report, and say, hey, there's movement on this.
So for example, one of those might be the preserve, with where we're at on the preserve, maybe just an update to the
Yeah.
council.
That would be nice.
With the deal that we negotiated with them, and, I mean, I know we've had the conversation, but just maybe when it may be coming to the
Yeah.
council? Okay, stuff
November.
like that.
Oh, so they.
Great,
There's an application?
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, Leslie,
No, report.
Theron.
Just a heads up, reminder that we'll have the community cleanup activity on Saturday, the 22nd of October. Everything's going well with that. It's basically on par with everything we've done in the last couple of years.
And our group's ready to go with that, Stephen thinks on your side, and then Logan as well. So we'll have that, and Camille.
Great.
Have that set up on that corner.
Great, awesome, thank you. Last thing that I had was that we had a fabulous meeting today with the Trails Committee, for our first kickoff meeting with the Trails Committee and Avid. Maybe Sean will speak to that, but I thought it went very well. Casey and I were in attendance, and it was a really good kickoff to the Trails Committee meeting, and very much anticipated meeting, so I'm pretty excited.
Excellent. Casey, do you have anything?
Yeah, so me and Logan met with the NYCC advisors a week and a half ago. There's going to be a changing of the guard there. And so it was good to get a lot of feedback from them, what kind of insights they have going forward, what kind of tweaks need to be made, what kind of support we can give them going forward. And so it was good initial discussion on some of those topics, and we'll have more topics to discuss with them, more discussions. But it was just good to kind of get a lot of feedback from the advisors on you know, how to improve things going forward. But me and Logan just kept on telling him how awesome they are as well, and just how great they're running the organization, and we really couldn't do without them.
Great.
I got
Thanks,
a quick
Casey.
question for you, Casey. In the past, we've talked about potentially creating two different groups in the U City Council, one to do more city council stuff, and the other one to do more service-related stuff. Has there been any movement on that?
Sorry, it sounded like it was a question directed from me. I can't hear
very
well.
The question is
Logan might be able to answer that.
Logan's not present, but the question is Theron's asking if with the youth city council, we talked about maybe breaking them into two groups. It was a discussion item, one doing more city council stuff, the other one doing more service stuff. And he's asking if there's any movement on that or any update.
So it was something that we talked about, and I mean, that's all we did. We just got everyone's kind of point of view, and I don't know. I think the kids like what they're doing, like how it is right now, and I probably wouldn't want to shake it up too much. They're getting in some political advocacy, and they're a great benefit to the city, of course. My preference would be to not shake it up too much and just continue how things are going. But, you know, keep on adding some of the political stuff, and the city council stuff. But I don't know, that's my preference. We can have more conversation about it, of course.
Sounds good. As long as you're aware and you're, you know, on it.
Yeah.
The ideas
Yeah.
that came to you, 2 weeks ago or whatever through email, that you guys are on it. We trust
Right.
your judgment there.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Casey.
The one thing, I think sorry, maybe just add one more point. I think the one thing that could help is if maybe we had a separate youth committee for Pioneer Days.
And is that something you're proposing through the youth council, or is that something separate that you'd like to propose?
Sorry, was that a question towards me? I can't
Yeah,
hear
sorry.
you.
I said, is that something that's part of the youth council you envision, or is that something outside of the youth council that you're envisioning for 24th?
Probably outside of the youth council. So if there's a Pioneer Days committee, and maybe they had some youth that helped with Just Fast, but the youth council maybe could back away from that a little bit.
Pioneer Days,
Or maybe, you know, to be honest, it's really the ping pong ball drop. If we can solve that, that's a big fiasco every year, and it felt like if we could maybe do that on a weekday, that would maybe solve some of the issues there. So we might not even have to have a separate committee for that, but just to make some tweaks to make it easier for the kids.
We had that discussion a couple weeks ago, and I think we've come up with a resolution for that. It's the location of it that's the problem, so we'll finalize that and then get back with you and make those decisions.
Yeah.
and the Pioneer Days Committee's been discussing this idea as well. They're supporting that, and we do have on our committee a representative from the Youth Council, one of the adult leaders, so she's been giving us some ideas on that too, so I think that's coming.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Casey. Mr. Conrad?
Nothing.
Okay. Mr. Branch?
Just two things for you. One, kudos to Councilmember Jones and Camille for helping this. On Monday, we had the annual Springville Mapleton Chamber of Commerce Golf Tournament. That turned out great. That full capacity. A lot of Mapleton residents there who have businesses, and that was kind of cool to just visit with them. And so thanks for the efforts on that. And then just a reminder, on October the 8th, from 2 to 5 is our Scarecrow Festival, and then 5 to 7 will be where residents can go pick up a pumpkin there at the pumpkin patch there by the cemetery. So that's all I had with closed
Great.
session. Yeah.
Thanks, Corey. We'll look for a motion to go close this session and go into a closed session.
I make a motion to close the public session and move to go to a closed session, and I can't
Personnel.
recite the,
Regarding personnel.
regarding personnel, and I don't know the code that Jim used to recite, but he might have been
524205.
was he just showing off, or do we need to read
Yeah,
that?
he's showing off.
Okay.
It's always written right.
All right,
Oh, sorry.
all in favor?
Yes. Garrett, yes.
Yes.